Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Abundantly Aware. I so appreciate you being here. All right, in today's episode, I'm going to say something a little controversial, and that is that I don't believe in motivation. You heard it here first, folks. I don't believe in it. I don't think it exists. And this realization really, truly happened when I got diagnosed with ADHD, and I learned a lot more about it. It doesn't exist, especially in my life. Like, I had been stuck for so long waiting to feel like doing something. I feel it in my body. What is that? I was waiting to feel like doing it instead of just doing it. And this episode in particular, I'm going to share a little bit of what I rely on instead and a little bit of things that I want to try and things that I already try and already do when my brain just says no and my body sort of follows suit. Because if you have ever experienced paralysis in any way, executive dysfunction, all of those kind of things, because everybody does to a certain degree experience most of the things that ADHD folks and neurodivergent folks experience. Is just on a completely different level. Like, you can feel like not doing something and then you count to 4 and you can do it if you really don't want to do it. But sometimes it's just impossible. I don't necessarily have the hardest time getting out of bed because I sleep with someone else in the bed, right? Like, because I have a partner. So it's for some reason really easy for me to get out of bed when they're not here. But when I'm alone, sometimes I need that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 counting down to get me out of bed. But it's more like it's other things, like tasks that I'm avoiding or that I'm anxious and scared about, or that I want to be perfect and I'm worrying. Those kind of things are the things that are really difficult for me to just start and do. So let's get into this episode. All right. So let's talk about the myth that is motivation. I feel like we're sold and we're taught that feeling good enables us to take the action, which enables us to feel better, get that dopamine hit. And that just isn't the case for a lot of us, especially those of us with ADHD brains, because waiting to feel like doing certain tasks is just never going to happen. It's just never going to happen. What's that when pigs fly? It's just never going to happen. With certain things, I can't even tell you how many things I've put off. I was in a meeting today and I was supposed to do something to have this other thing happen. And then this other thing happened in regards to it. I don't want to go into too much detail because I do get personal here, but not too personal. And I missed a deadline completely. And I was like, yeah, that's because I pushed it off and pushed it off and pushed it off because I didn't feel like doing it. And now that I feel like doing it, the momentum is there and I can do so many things. But you can't do that with everything in your life. You legitimately cannot wait to, I don't know, I can't wait until I feel like it to order groceries. I can't wait until I feel like it to pay rent. So, among other things. So, yeah, that's why I thought about talking about this specific topic of motivation and how it doesn't exist. So I think that the true thing here is that the action you take is actually the thing that creates the momentum, not the momentum taking place before the action, right? Your motivation is momentum and you get motivated and then do the work. No, that's not how it works. You take the action and then you feel motivated after the fact. So let's talk about an example of that. An example of that is most mornings I don't feel like working. And when you work for yourself, at the moment I still only work for myself. When you work for yourself, it's easy to put things off, right? So I start my mornings a little bit differently. And, eating the frog is not what I do. I don't do the hardest task first because I literally have no motivation to do it. And if I'm just thinking about doing the hardest task, I will sit for 3 hours and just stare into nothingness because I don't have the motivation to do it, because motivation doesn't exist. So I prefer to tackle a few little tasks that I can check off my list that are easy for me, quote, easy for me to complete. So for me, that is emails. And yes, I know a lot of people talk about not doing your emails first thing or you'll get bogged down, which is why I set sort of parameters around my emails. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get my email to like 0 unread and read all of my emails. And I'm able to do that because I keep on top of it. So maybe I get like 20 to 50 emails a day. It's alleviated by the fact that I keep on top of it and I read my emails every single day. So with that being said, the parameters that I kind of set around that is I think about my emails. I'm like, what needs to be done today and what can be put off? A right now and a not right now. And so the not right now goes into tomorrow's bucket and the right now gets done today. And I try to keep my email inbox. I have many inboxes. But I kind of keep that task to 30 minutes to an hour. And then I get to check off a bunch of things and feel so excited about it. And then I can get into the next step and the next thing and the next thing. And it's so much easier of a transition than trying to do the big thing, like, I don't know, a client project first thing in the morning. I can't, personally anyway. All right. So I said earlier that I was going to talk about a few things that I try to do instead of waiting for motivation. So I'm going to share about like 3 of those and 2 things that I found online that I want to try, but I haven't tried before. So the first one, body doubling or co-work. I use it all the time. I use it every single week. And that's to do the really hard things. It's to just like start the very big task. Honestly, when I was I still am looking for a job, but when I was in the start of that journey, I used a co-working call to get my act in gear and just do it. And that was so helpful because that is scary. It's scary putting yourself out there. And I think it's going to result in a job. So cross our fingers. Second one is a low lift start and tackling the smaller tasks first. So kind of number 1, reminding yourself that you don't have to do the massive project. So I try this more and more, even with my tasks, instead of saying like outline podcast or film podcast. I'm trying to do more things like brainstorm some topics, even though I would like to have a bank of those. I don't. Or choose a topic, and that's my one task. And then I can check that off, feel a hit of dopamine, and then continue on with my tasks. So it's like a much easier way to start the doing of the thing. And the one main thing, the last podcast episode, which I will link, I talked about the things that sort of changed my life when I started becoming optimistic instead of pessimistic. And that full circle moment here, reframing it, reframing what I'm doing. If it's really hard for you to start the thing, whether that's, in most cases, I'm talking about creative tasks, like creating a podcast or creating a social media like post, I have it on my wall. Like I said before, and I can't find it. Like I can never find the ones that I actually want when I want to talk about them. But it's like, it just has to exist. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I remind myself of that every single time. So even if I'm completing client projects, it just has to exist. It doesn't have to be perfect. If they come back and they say something needs to be changed, that is okay. And that is available. And that I'm still doing the work. And I didn't have to muster up the courage and the motivation to do the thing. So that leads me to the next 2 things that I heard online and I kind of want to do. And I've sort of started. So I started to build rituals around the things that I was doing. So when I would work in the evenings, especially in the wintertime, I would always light a candle. And there used to be a candle up here. I don't know if it's in frame or not. But it's not there anymore. I stopped doing that for a little while. But I think I want to do that. Like just light a candle every time I work on my business to make it feel cozy and approachable. Just like this podcast, I hope feels. So that's one thing, building rituals and pre-decisions around what you're going to do so that your brain sort of feels like it just wants to do it. Another thing, sometimes when I really, really don't want to do it, I bring a personal support like juice, usually a Gatorade or a matcha, depending on the time of day. I don't really drink that much caffeine, so low on the caffeine. But I have something that makes me feel excited to do the task, even though I don't want to do it. So that could be part of a ritual that I do sometimes, but I want to do more of. And I also heard of something that I want to try, which is faulting tasks for 0 energy days. So like on those days when you don't have any energy and you need to do things, when your spoons are very low, choose tasks that are very low energy that can be done very simply. whether that's like voice noting yourself a bunch of ideas that come to mind, or using ChatGPT to generate some ideas for yourself, for content ideas specifically. I talk about that a lot because this is a podcast, but I try to think about other things that you can do very simply, like low energy. So we obviously don't do admin tasks during those low energy days because that takes a lot more energy to do. Yes, I know for some people it doesn't, but for me, admin tasks specifically take a lot of energy out of me. So I need a high energy day to do those things. But I'm trying to think of some other low energy tasks that you can sort of do in the background. Answering emails, for the most part, are pretty much low energy, for me anyway. Something that you can do to just be like, oh, I got this off my plate, that kind of thing. But yeah, just come up with a bunch of low energy tasks that you can do on those days that kind of feel icky. And don't take on massive projects when you don't have the energy, or try to place them in a day when you don't have the energy. Although, the problem I see with that is that I can't always decide when I'm going to have the low energy day. It's hard. It's hard to follow those lines, but it's an option. It's something I want to try. So let's try. Instead of thinking about all the cons of it, let's just think of it as being a positive. All right. So we're going to end on the note of motivation versus self-trust, and how they're similar, but they're also different at the same time. And relying on the motivation can create distrust within yourself. You're relying on the motivation to get you to the place to follow through and do the thing that you promised that you would do. And then you don't do it. So then you distrust yourself and think, I'm never going to be able to do this. Like, I didn't do it yesterday. I didn't do it the day before. I didn't do it the other day. So I can't trust myself to follow through and do it. And instead, if we think of like, how can I build self-trust for myself? We can create affirmations. Sometimes work for some people. I know they don't work for all, but they work for me. Like, I can do hard things. And even when it's not perfect, I can show up and I can trust myself, reminding myself, I can trust myself. I can show up. And like, in a way that I like to do that recently is that I share wins of the little parts. So when someone asks me what it's a win for the week, sometimes I just say I showed up to the podcast even when I had no energy, which builds that self-trust. It builds that feeling of like, I can trust myself, because even on this day when I had zero energy to complete this task, I still completed it. And if you're not watching the video, I am smiling because that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And it lends to that optimism piece. Affirmations are game changer for me when they resonate with you. If they don't resonate with you and you're talking out your, in ways that just don't resonate with you, I think that's why it doesn't work. Personally, I just think that's why they don't work for you, because they just don't resonate. They're not the words that feel there for you, So if you want to take mine, you can. Or you can create another version that makes way more sense for you. All right. So that comes to the end of this little pep talk podcast episode. I just want to end this podcast episode with saying that motivation is not the answer. You are not a failure because you can't motivate yourself to do the thing that you really deeply want to do. And that a little bit of action goes a long way. And taking those little baby steps before the big step can create the momentum to push forward to complete the goals that you really want to complete. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you being here as always. If this episode helped you rethink motivation, momentum, all of the like, and if it gave you just one tool that you'd like to put in your tool belt for later, I appreciate it. Send me a comment down below. Let me know which one resonated most with you. And anything that worked for you, please share. I would love to know. Of course, especially for those overthinker and those neurospicy minds, I want to know it all. Yeah. So if you have a friend that is neurospicy and you think this might help them, give this a share. Please. And comment, share, write us a review on Spotify. Spotify, I believe, is stars, but Apple Podcast is where the reviews stay. So a review, a like, a share, everything helps. Every single action that you take, even like a like simply on this video, or like hit that share button and share it to your stories on Instagram. All of these things help me greatly, and I greatly appreciate them. So until next time, let's become abundantly aware together. and I'll see you next week. Bye.